Maybe one you have right now. Maybe one you lost a long time ago, but still think about on quiet days. That dog who just knew, who always seemed to understand what you were feeling before you even said a word. This story is about one of those dogs. His name was Cecil. He was an old beagle, lazy, round, slow-moving, the kind of dog who considered guarding the house to mean sleeping on the couch and hoping someone dropped a piece of pizza. He was not a hero dog by any stretch of the imagination, until the night he was the only thing standing between his owner and someone who really, truly, should not have been outside that basement door. This story is equal parts terrifying and deeply, genuinely moving. It's a horror story, yes, but it's also a love letter to a dog who gave everything he had on one ordinary night, in a city that wasn't always safe, when nobody else was there to help. I've read a lot of stories for this channel. This one stayed with me. I think it'll stay with you too. This story happened over 10 years ago, but I remember every detail like it was last week. I was in my later years of high school. My parents were away for the weekend at a wedding that required them to stay at a hotel overnight. My brother was working the night shift. That meant I had the whole house to myself. We lived in a well-known East Coast city, in a blue-collar neighborhood that, at the time, was starting to go downhill. Nothing unusual for a city. Neighborhoods change. But looking back, I understand now that the area was the kind of place where you kept your doors locked and your eyes open. As a teenager, I was naturally introverted. I had friends, I dated, I was a big guy. I wasn't a wallflower by any means, but I genuinely cherished time alone. So this weekend felt like a gift. My plan was simple and perfect. PlayStation on the big screen TV, late night takeout, Dragon Ball Z reruns, and eventually falling asleep on the couch sometime around 2 a.m. And next to me on that couch, as always, would be Cecil. Cecil was our beagle. He'd been with our family for about 8 years by then, and he was, there's no other word for it, peaceful, old, slow, content. He spent his days begging for scraps and sleeping in warm spots. Unlike most beagles, he almost never howled. He wasn't excitable. He just wanted to rest his head on someone's lap and stay there all night. That was Cecil, my lazy, quiet old beagle. It was around 1 a.m. I'd just finished the last slice of pizza and was starting to doze off when I heard a bang from the back alleyway. I didn't think much of it. City noises are city noises. Dumpsters, cats, whoever's still awake at that hour. I was used to it. But Cecil's head lifted off my lap. The hair along his back stood straight up. I calmed him down, told him it was nothing, and started drifting off again. Not 2 minutes later, another bang. And this time, Cecil did something I had never seen him do in 8 years. He launched himself off the couch and tore across the room toward the door leading to the basement. He wasn't trotting. He wasn't plodding along like usual. He was running, sprinting. And when he reached that door, he started barking and growling with an intensity that didn't sound like him at all. It sounded like a German shepherd. It sounded like a guard dog who meant business. I'd never seen him look like that before. And the look on his face, I can only describe it as urgent, like he understood something I didn't yet. Through his barking, I could now make out what the sound actually was. Persistent banging, rhythmic, deliberate. There was a door in our basement that opened to the back alleyway. It was old and rusted. The kind of door that was hard to open even with a key. It made a horrible grinding noise just to budge. And someone was on the other side of it, trying to get in. Now, I grew up in that neighborhood, so I knew something that people who haven't lived in rough areas might not. There's an unspoken rule. If someone tries your door and it's locked and they move on, they just wanted your stuff. But if they keep trying, if they persist despite the lock, they don't just want your stuff. They want you. I grabbed the heavy wooden baseball bat I kept under my bed for exactly these kinds of situations and headed downstairs. Looking back, that was probably not the wisest decision. I was a macho teenager with a tough guy complex and adrenaline overriding my judgment. I had nowhere to run anyway, so I went down. As I was heading down the stairs, Cecil blew past me. That old, fat, slow beagle, who had never moved fast a day in his life, blew past me on those stairs like he was half his age and twice as motivated. And then I heard it from the other side of the door, a man's voice, sharp, startled. "Oh!" And just like that, the banging stopped. I sat up the rest of that night with the bat across my lap. Didn't sleep, didn't call anyone, just waited. When my brother came home the next morning, I told him everything. He went down to check the basement door. When he gave it a tug, the entire door fell off its hinges. One good shove. That's all it would have taken. One more good shove, and that man would have been inside my house. But he heard an old beagle charging at a door and decided it wasn't worth it. When I tell this story to people, they sometimes shrug and say, "Well, that's just what dogs do." But I was there. I knew Cecil. That was not what Cecil did. In 8 years, I had never seen him move that fast, bark that loud, or look that focused. It was like he understood, genuinely understood, that the door was about to give. A few years ago, we had to say goodbye to Cecil. He had no will to live anymore, and it was time. Before the injection, I got a few minutes alone with him. I was a grown man by then. Wife, kids, a whole life built.